When I received the message and rushed to my parents' house, a moving company's truck was parked in front of it. My father was silently watching the movers load the truck. "Wait, what happened to your stuff?" My sister-in-law sneered at my exclamation. "You should take care of your father properly because you're his daughter." "What? Aren't we all moving to a new house?" "No way. Why should we have to take care of an old man with dementia? You take care of the rest." Both my brother and mother were just quiet. Though my father was going through this, they were just watching and smirking at him. "Wait, what does this mean? What will happen to Dad?" Unable to do anything, I went back home with my father with dementia. There, I heard a shocking truth from him. "My name is Anne, and I am 27 years old. I work for a clothing manufacturer. After graduating from university, I was hired by a regular company, but I wanted to work in the fashion industry, so I changed jobs. It's a busy everyday life, but I'm satisfied with my current life. Actually, my father's encouragement was there when I decided to change jobs. When I was thinking about quitting my job, he told me this. And there are countless jobs out there, so there's no need to stick to one you don't want to do, right? Times have changed. Don't say it so simply." That's the point, isn't it? In our days, there weren't as many types of jobs and fewer options. But now there are more options. That might be true, but in the past and even now, there are few people who know what they want to do as clearly as you do. If you have a job you want to do, wouldn't it be better to act honestly on your feelings? Dad. His words at that time resonated strongly with me. As he said, not everyone is doing the job they love. Some people are fulfilling their dreams. Others work only to make a living. I was the latter. But if you have a job you want to do, you should act honestly on your feelings. It was a realization that came from his words. From that day on, I seriously started job hunting. As a result, I was able to work in the fashion industry, which I still love. And I am very grateful to my father. It's been about 3 years since then. I have been living busy days and haven't been able to go to my parents' house. I was thinking I would go back when my work calmed down. That's when I got a call from my mom. "Wait, Dad has dementia?" "Yes, his forgetfulness has been particularly bad lately." "You haven't had him examined at the hospital, have you?" "We haven't, but it suddenly got worse recently, so I'm sure it's that. I'll definitely come back at the end of the month, so please wait a little." "Okay." The dementia of my father, as suddenly told by my mother. After ending the call, my hands were trembling in surprise. I couldn't believe that my father, who was always so solid, had dementia. I want to believe it's a lie, but Mom also said he's been very forgetful. I need to go home and see for myself. The next day, I started working desperately. Despite it being the busy season and having a lot of work, I worked overtime every day to go home. I kept in touch with my mother and asked about my father's condition. Meanwhile, it seems that my brother and his wife suddenly started coming to my parents' house. My brother Kenneth and his wife Marie live about 30 minutes away by car from my parents' house. Unlike me, who take over 3 hours by train, they live close by, but as my mother said a little while ago, they never visit. I wonder why they suddenly started coming to my parents' house. As the question grew, my mother joyfully said during one of our phone calls, "Kenneth and Marie came today too." "Wait, they came today again?" "Yes, they are both worried about your father." "They are worried?" "Well, there's suspicion that he has dementia, so of course they would be." "Well, yeah, it's normal to be worried. But that would be under normal circumstances. My brother, to put it bluntly, can be cold-hearted. Ever since we were young, he's had the habit of looking down on people, and he's said a lot of terrible things about me. His wife Marie, whom he married, is the same type of person. She looks down on everyone around her because she's beautiful. I tried to get along with her when they first got married, but I realized that it was impossible to get along with someone who could so casually badmouth others. They only come to my parents' house when they want to borrow money from my parents. They didn't even show up when my mother was injured a few years ago. I wonder why they would repeatedly visit my parents' house for my father. What are they thinking? My father hasn't even had a dementia test yet. He hasn't contracted a serious illness, so his life isn't in danger. Still, I was suspicious of them, who frequently visited my father. 2 weeks later, after finally getting a long holiday, I hurriedly went home. As soon as my sister-in-law saw me, she immediately made a sarcastic remark. "Do you understand your father's situation, Anne? Isn't your arrival too late? I've been swamped with work, but it seems normal for an elderly person to be forgetful." "What? That's cruel for a daughter. I feel sorry for your father. It seems like you too have been frequently visiting my parents' house. What happened?" "Nothing really. Anybody would be worried and want to visit if they knew their father-in-law has dementia, right?" My brother nodded at her words. As we were talking, my father appeared. The moment he saw me, he faced it up and he happily called my name. "Long time no see, Anne. Welcome home." "Dad, it's been a while. Are you feeling okay?" "I'm perfectly fine. Everyone is making a big fuss over me just because I become a bit forgetful." "That's right. You're already over 60, and it's normal to start forgetting things." That's a mixed feeling of happiness and sadness. Seeing him looking so healthy, I feel relieved. To be honest, I was not at peace. Even though I thought everything would be fine, deep down I was worried that he might even forget my face. But when I talked to him, he seemed fine. Then my father said, "Now that Anne is here, let's have lunch," to my mother. Then my brother said to him with feigned ignorance, "What are you talking about, Dad? We just had lunch." "Huh? What are you talking about? We've only had breakfast so far. We all ate just before Anne arrived." "Don't lie, Kenneth. You must be hungry too, right?" "Dad, your dementia is progressing." "I've told you I don't have dementia. I might forget things, but I certainly wouldn't forget having a meal." Seeing my father getting angry, I became very worried. That's because before I came home, I had been doing a lot of research on dementia. It seems that even if the memory loss is light at first, as the disease progresses, he starts to forget things like meals and the content of conversations. Not only that, but he also becomes quick to anger over minor things in daily life. All the symptoms fit him. For now, I calmed him down and handed him snack foods I bought. After receiving them, he said, "I'm going to watch TV in the room," and headed to the room. I was so shocked that I was at a loss for words. As I let out a heavy sigh, my brother, wearing a sarcastic smile, spoke to me. "I told you, didn't I? His dementia symptoms are progressing. But it's not severe enough to require a nursing home. I know, we will take care of him." "Huh? You guys will?" "To tell you the truth, we're already building a new house. When it's ready, Mom and Dad will live there with us." "Really? So no matter how hard you try, it won't matter. Whether you are after his money or not, it won't go as smoothly as you think." The phrase "after the money" that came out of my brother's mouth made me blurt out, "Huh?" Then my sister-in-law, who had been just listening, added insult to injury. "You came home just to sweet-talk your father and take his money, didn't you?" What are you talking about? I don't understand. That's not possible." "Really? If you were really worried, wouldn't you have come back here sooner?" "As I said, I've been swamped with work. It's unfair to use work as an excuse. You agree too, right?" "That's true. My mother agreed with her words." At that moment, I realized that I was at a disadvantage. I didn't understand. I didn't come to see him for his money. Why does my mom take their side, even when it's clearly unreasonable? My brother and his wife have always been a type to tell lies without batting an eye, but Mom is not like that. Yet, for some reason, it seemed like she was siding with them, not me. I was planning to stay at my parents' house for a few days, but my brother and his wife told me, if you're here for the money, leave. Feeling unwelcomed at my own home, I decided to leave that same day. Dad, I'm leaving now. When I went to tell my dad, who was in his room, he replied with a gentle smile. It was nice seeing you today, Anne. Thank you for coming. I'm glad that I got to see you well too, Dad. Come back anytime, and don't worry. All right. You don't have any problem. Yeah, I'm all right. I can't go now before you get married. After the conversation with him, I left my parents' house with a heavy heart. At that moment, perhaps I should have taken him with me, regardless of what anyone said. I realized this half a year later. On that day, I would often receive a sudden phone call from my mom. Hello, Anne. Can you come over right now? What? Why? It's about your father. We need to talk. What, Mom? The call had already ended, and I could only hear the sound of a disconnected phone call. I rushed in a taxi to my parents' house to see a moving truck parked outside. Under my mother's instructions, the movers were taking one thing after another out of the house. It seemed like only my mother's things were being moved. I was confused and approached my brother to question him. What on earth are you doing? You're late, Anne. I see Mom's stuff being moved. But where is Dad? To my loud questions, my sister-in-law responded with a creepy smile. You're his daughter. You should take care of him. What are you talking about? Aren't you all moving together? That's impossible. We can't take care of a senile old man. But you said you are all moving together, including Dad and Mom. Did you actually believe that? We're not going to take care of a senile old man. The rest is up to you. It seems that my brother, his wife, and mother had planned to move together, leaving my dad behind. I was just called to take care of him, who was a nuisance. The truth hit me all at once, filling me with anger. My mother had abandoned him along with them. I couldn't forgive any of them. Despite his dementia, my father was left alone, with no one to take care of him. This wasn't what our family should do. They started their car and drove off to their new home. I couldn't leave my father alone, so I decided to take him back to my place for now. He didn't say a word on the way home. He must have been shocked. When we got home and I served him some tea, he suddenly started to laugh. What a farce. It's finally over. Dad, what's going on all of a sudden? Sorry for dragging you into this, Anne. Huh? What do you mean? Alright, the game ends here. Should we kick them out of that house? I asked him, what do you mean? Not understanding what he was saying. And he began to explain with a mischievous grin. Anne, I may indeed have dementia, just like everyone says, but it's still in the early stages. But you forgot you had lunch, didn't you? That was, of course, an act. Huh? An act? I thought it was strange that Kenneth and his wife suddenly came to the house and said things like, we are worried, so let's live together, and let's build a new house for that purpose. What do you mean? I can't catch up with the understanding. Their new house is a house that I built with my money in my name. What? I was so surprised that my voice grew louder. Laughing, he continued talking to me, who was frozen in shock. I had my suspicions, but it's nice to be worried about, so I tested them. You tested? If they live with me as promised, it will stay that way. If they break the promise, I can do what I want as the title holder. So I'll demolish it and kick them out of the new house right away. It's a waste of a new house, isn't it? The house was cheap, so it's not a problem. But if they're kicked out of the new house, won't they come back to your house? No problem. I'll destroy there too. And I won't make a place for them to live. It seems that my father pretended to be senile to see his son's true nature. He can think properly, and it seems that he just forgets things a little. Afterwards, my father hurried to make arrangements. To kick them out of the new house, he requested the demolition of both the new house and the family home. They were ordered to vacate immediately and return to their parents' house. But my father wasn't there, and the family home was already demolished. The demolition of the new house seems to be forthcoming. Then my brother called me next. "Hello?" When I answered the phone, he started talking in a panicked voice. "We were suddenly kicked out of the new house. Help us!" "Huh? And?" "We went back to our parents' house, but there's no house, and Dad is nowhere to be found." Sounds tough. You there say it's none of your business when Dad is gone. Don't you care? Not at all. He's next to me now. What? After all, you're the one who said to take care of our dad, even though he wasn't senile yet. From the side, I could hear my sister-in-law shouting in anger. "What do you mean?" Then I explained to them in simple terms what had happened so far. "So, Dad has decided the new house is going to be demolished." "What? Demolished? What are we going to do about our living situation?" "Who knows?" "Who knows? Without a place to live, we'll end up homeless. You should let us stay at your place." At her ridiculous statement, both my brother and mother also responded in unison. I was too astounded to even get angry. I told them straight, "It's all your fault. You lied to Dad and deceived him. Once you had what you wanted, you just discarded him. That's why this happened. And yet, instead of apologizing, you complain. Are you out of your mind? So if we apologize, that's fine, right? So help us." "No way. There's nothing good in helping. I haven't forgotten being accused of being after the money. Neither Dad nor I will ever forgive you. Why don't you three try to rack your brains together and figure out what to do next? Good luck." "Wait, hold on." She was still saying something, but I hung up the phone one-sidedly. I then blocked their numbers and cut off all contact with them. Apparently, they, who had lost their home, were living in an internet cafe. But because my brother couldn't rest properly and wasn't eating properly, he started to be late and absent from work more and more. As a result, he was deemed negligent in his duties and was fired from his company. The three of them are still living in the internet cafe, and my brother and his wife seems to be getting by with day labor jobs. But of course, they're not making much money, and it seems hard to even maintain this difficult lifestyle. I feel good. The punishment for deceiving and betraying their family was duly meted out to them. After that, my father moved into the new house where they were supposed to live. He seems to have decided not to demolish it since he's going to live there himself. The reason he has a caregiver coming during the day is to help manage his dementia. Right now, his symptoms are mild and he doesn't have any problems with his daily life. From now on, I'm thinking of taking regular time off to visit him. It's the only way I can fulfill my filial duty.